Get notifications and stay updated every time I post a challenge podcast by hitting the subscribe button. Thank you all and hope you enjoy. Back to another episode of the Mike Lewis podcast. Before we start and I introduce my guest, just want to thank you guys for the feedback on the last episode. We're doing pretty well right now, so if you're watching this, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But without further ado, I got to introduce today's guest because he's someone I've wanted on here for a while, and we haven't heard from him in quite some time, but I'm going to give him a good intro. So, from the real world St. Thomas, he also went on Challenge Battle of the Seasons and Rivals 2. He's got double B's in his name, Mr. Robb. What's going on, man?
You just had to slick that one in there. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How about you? I mean, I know we're both on the East Coast. We're getting hit like a ton of bricks with snow lately. How has this been for you?
Yeah, well, one, I love the snow. I don't know, I'm like a weird little kid still, but I don't mind it. So I live in Philadelphia technically, but I'm right on the county line, and right next to Philadelphia is Montgomery County. So every time I look at the the news and it tells us, we're getting 3 to 6. You see right next door on the map, and it's 9 to 12. And I always got to keep in mind we're about to get fucking dolloped. We're not getting the Philadelphia snow. We're getting that northern snow. But now we're staying warm. We're shoveling a couple times a day. No big deal. We're good.
I'd say growing up when I was younger, I definitely would have to agree with you about liking the snow. But I'm very much so my only lingo is just go. So when I go in the gym in the morning, I walk there because it gets me all warmed up. But then with the snow, it's kind of throws everything through a loop because now I'm not walking to the gym. I'm more so slipping to the gym, So that's probably my only pet peeve. I just don't like walking in the snow. It's nice to look at, but yeah.
It's funny that you say that because that's probably my favorite time to run. Whenever it snows, I almost put an obligation on myself. Future Rob needs this run today because it's shitty, right? It's 20 degrees, it's snowing, it's sleeting. And if I run X amount of miles, then when it gets nicer out and I don't feel like running, I can think back and you did this many when it was snowing and shitty out. This is fucking easy, bud. So this is, and there's no cars on the road ever. You can just kind of go. The snow is soft. It's good in your joints. So I've actually, on the contrary, love running in the snow.
But how does that kind of tie into that, though, with, what you wear on your feet? Because, I assume it'd have to be kind of hard running in regular, Nikes or whatever shoe of choice that you wear. Are you running boots or, how does that
work? No, that's combat tactical. No, I run in a couple different pairs of shoes. So when I just do, regular, just maintenance runs, I'll wear, a pair of Hokas. I have a couple pairs of those. When I do any type of races on the road, I'll wear Nikes. And then when it's anything like bad weather like we have now or on the trail or through the forest, I'll run in some Nike trail shoes, some Wild Horses to be specific. And they're nice because they're still relatively lightweight. They're still under a pound. There's a carbon sole in there, so it kind of reverbs some of the energy. And it's got treads on the bottom of the shoe for gripping and whatnot. So I don't really have much of a slip hazard.
Oh, cool. Yeah, and I noticed from seeing you on Instagram, it seems like running's pretty much been a big part of your life the last couple of years. When did that kind of become your thing? Was that something that you were doing while you were on the shows, or did you kind of adopt it?
So, to me, we're going to flash back to the shows, even Real World St. Thomas, I was the biggest smoker. I remember being in St. Thomas, and I would go to the convenience store, and back in Philadelphia area, Ben Salms, where I grew up, you could get a pack of smokes, one pack for $5, $6, $7. And then I went to St. Thomas, and I get the same pack, but in a carton, 20 packs, for $20. I was like, oh my god. How easy is it to maintain this habit, this addiction? Which is terrible to think about. But so running was always just off the table. Won't do it. I'll lift weights. I'll stretch. But running was also kind of viewed for me as a punishment, right? I played sports my entire life growing up through school and whatnot. So you fuck up or you do something. You got to get conditioning in. You got to take a lab, suicides. So what happened was, I guess we're talking like 2015, 2016-ish. I was trying to go out for Philadelphia Police Department, and you have to pass a physical test before you can, advance to the other portions of the hiring process. And there's 4 components. It's like a 400-meter sprint, some shit like that. A bench press that is like 93% of your body weight, no problem there. 35 sit-ups in a minute, roger that. And then there's a 1.5 mile run in 13.5 minutes. And I remember being in the gym, getting the email like, congratulations, you get to do the physical test. Here's what you have to do. And I see everything. And I see the 1.5 miles. I'm like, all right, maybe that. All right. So I jump on the treadmill and I just barometer. Let's see where we're at. So I kick it up. I kid you not, I get to like 0.4 miles in like 8 minutes. And I'm like, well, this is fucking impossible. No fucking way. And fast forward like 2 weeks, I went running with a buddy's girlfriend, and she basically took me out for about an hour. By the end of it, she was like, how far do you think we ran? And I was like, I don't know, like 1 mile or 2. She was like, ran 4. And I was like, no shit. And then so she gave me the best piece of advice I'd gotten, which was run at a conversational pace. So we were chatting, knocking it up. And basically from there on out, I was just trained as I ran to kind of like mouth like lyrics to songs. Running with music obviously helped. And that just kind of got me in like a comfortable rhythm. And by that point, I crushed that physical test for the police. I'm not a police officer. I did that before then. I guess they tapped me out for me. But then I just kind of took that moment of, I don't know, it was something I thought I couldn't do, and I was able to do it. And then I signed up for a Ragnar Ultra run, albeit while drunk. But then knocked that out a couple months later, and it just got into the habit of like pushing the limit of what I thought I could do, and I just haven't found that limit yet. So it just kind of became a hobby, passion, and all that. Dude,
that's pretty nuts. I'll be honest. But yeah, I saw in your Twitter bio as well. It said NBA free agent technically. Is there more to that story, or is that just kind of more of a?
No. That's just something stupid. It's just like, I mean, technically, I'm not signed by any team, so I'm ready. I'm in great shape, great health. If they want to sign me up, be a 13th man, all right, I'll put on the zip-on pants. I'll be ready to rock.
Yeah, because when I saw that, I'll be completely honest with you. At first, it didn't make much sense, but then I remember hearing, I was like, wasn't he 6'6" on the show? Like, he was pretty tall. Like, so I was like, I don't know, maybe there's something. Maybe he tried out. I don't know. I just wanted to...
Besides the fact of like looking like a Viking, I feel like the height alone would put me in like a basketball-ish kind of height world. But no, that's just pure shits and giggles.
But yeah, let's now I kind of want to ask, because I always ask this towards the beginning with all my guests. We're currently in this new crazy life that we're living in, so I always want to ask kind of everybody's stories and perspectives now on kind of what this year's been like for them. I could say this, I know from talking to you, you've had quite an adjustment this past year, with everything going on. So I know that you got married, so
guilty.
Maybe talk to me a little bit about what this pandemic's kind of been like for you, if you will.
It's tough to put like a positive spin on something that's been like as negative as it was. But if we're being realistic, so my wife and I, we met about 2 years ago, and realistically hit it off instantaneously, and we lived together. Honestly, a couple months into the relationship. And then I guess I probably started in March of 2019. So then fast forward obviously to 2020, about March of 2020 is when the pandemic started. And that's when like everything like getting locked in started. And her and I were grateful enough and lucky enough to, maintain our occupations and our jobs. So we were working from home. And then, in about May, it was just like we kind of looked at each other in our small little row home, being like, we just need more fucking space, man. Like, this just, it ain't cutting it. So yeah, we just kind of hit the ground running. We got the house that we were living in up to par. We had that sold, um, contingency offer, and then I went into this new home. And our planning was a little off because we kind of scheduled and had this all play out around the same time that we got married. So it was really stressful and hectic. I never really understood what stress could do to you physically until that day, or that month, I should say. But yeah, that was the majority of our pandemic experience, our quarantine experience. I was super grateful and lucky. Like, I don't know, like again, it's tough to make a positive out of it, but like I got to hang out with her and our dog for a couple months, and we were able to work, thankfully. So we had a very positive outcome from last year.
Wow, that's great. And this was actually a subscriber question too. They wanted to know, did your wife actually watch you while you were on the show?
No, well, maybe not. I don't think she did. It's funny. I don't talk about it. I don't really talk about my time on the show all too often. Just because it's so long ago, it almost feels like whenever I look back on it, I see pictures, videos. It almost looks like I don't really recognize the kid that I see. But no, I don't believe that she's actually watched my time on St. Thomas.
And I also, unfortunately, Rob, have to throw in this question too, since we're at it. Since everybody saw your St. Thomas crew at the wedding, they obviously were curious if, because this one's kind of a talked about person within this little realm, if Marie caught an invite to the wedding.
She didn't, and it's no. I don't know. I mean, part of me would wonder, like, why would she? But no disrespect to her, like, we're just not close. That seems a little like an odd thing to do. And if we're being realistic, like Brandon Kane didn't receive an invite either. The individuals that did, Trey, Swift, Laura, and Latoya, like we still talk often. We still, are keep in touch, keep in contact. So, that made sense. And got to keep in mind too, the way that our wedding panned out and shaped out. Like originally, we were in a venue with 100+ people and no worries, just almost like, oh, who else can we invite? Might as well bring everybody. And then that shrunk down to like a backyard, kind of split thing where I had some people coming in the morning and early afternoon, and then some people end of afternoon and early evening, to try and get as many people as there. But we went from having almost 150 175 to I think 60 unique people, maybe 70 unique people altogether. So we had to make a lot of cuts. The people that were invited were just ones that I was still close with and kept in touch with. So
yeah, I mean that's completely understandable. I mean, fans just you know how they are. They always.
I'm sure it's speculative. Yeah, I saw some of the tweets about it, and I thought it was a little strange. Like I don't know. If you're in my shoes, would you? Probably not.
It's like maybe these people just, I don't know, haven't dated someone on a show before and then went and got married. Maybe then they'll
right.
be able to sympathize with you a little bit,
Someone throw me a frickin' bone here.
But yeah, I think we've gotten to a point now where we can kind of jump into this whole real world experience now, because I want to ask you how it all started, which is with your casting story, if you will.
So it was all very conveniently timed, I guess, so I had gone to college for about 2 years and I just couldn't afford to go back. And I was at a place conveniently where, I was still at my parents' house, my mom's house, and she had come down. She was like, it'd be fun. It'd be fun. Bob, she'll be Bob. She'd be like, if you went on that Real World, and I'm laying on the couch watching, like, I don't fucking remember. And I'm like, the fuck does that idea come from? Like, I've never watched the show. I didn't have the slightest idea. And she came down all helpful. Like, I think you'd be good on it. I'm like, Mom, you think I'd be good at anything? But anyway, so I gave it a shot. I didn't really know what to do. I looked up casting calls. They'd all passed. So I think if I recall correctly, I emailed production, like Bunham and Mary, whatever I could find online. And then they sent me like a questionnaire, something like an interview based type thing. Filled it out, sent it back, and then within about a week or two, I had my first like video interview. That went pretty well. Well, I'm not gonna lie, I went fucking great. And then about 2 months after that, I had my second interview. Now this is when it gets really impressive on my part, because I thought to myself, well, I'm an insecure, not really confident guy. What should I do for this interview? Because now it's in person, right? Mind you, keep in time, I'm 20 years old. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to my old college campus while my buddies are still going. The interview's Sunday morning. I'm going to go there Saturday night, have a fucking great night, wake up early, skirt to Philadelphia where the interview's being taken place, and I'm just going to be my natural, kind of still drunk self, tell a bunch of stories. It's going to go over like gangbusters. And it did. And then about a month or so after that, I guess in December of 2011, they flew me out to California, LA, and that's when I had like my final like in-person interview. And honestly, ironically, that was probably the worst interview I had. But I think they made their mind up prior to that, because then they told me to like get a passport to make a video, because I hadn't made a video at all until that point. And I guess I just needed that for like, season purposes. So they told me after that last interview to get all that shit squared away. So I kind of had an inkling of an idea that I had made it. And then conveniently, very conveniently, they called me and told me I made it on my 21st birthday. So that fucking night just was just like, just gone forever.
Wow, imagine that, getting that call on your 21st birthday.
It was fun.
Why do you feel like they wanted you so bad? Like, what do you feel like you did that maybe stood out for them?
I think it was a lack of me really knowing like what I was getting into, if that makes sense. This isn't to cast any like shade or doubt on like their production, but it's easy to film and edit and to put forth someone that doesn't know realistically like any tricks of the trade, right? Like I didn't know how I could be perceived. I knew, like I read the contract briefly. If you call skimming it reading, I did that. And I did see in there, like, I believe the statistic is they use about 5% of the footage that they capture. I guess I just didn't think that I could be. I didn't have any worries going into it. I had a very Hakuna Matata mindset going into it, if you will. And I think, not that they took advantage of it, because they certainly didn't. They did what they were, allowed to do. I think, I didn't really have much of an idea, and I think they were able to use that for all that it was worth. And I went in there very authentic. I went in there very genuine. I didn't, like, I can't, I'll be honest, like, looking back, like, granted, some things I wasn't proud of or happy with, but at the same time, like, I had to do those things in my mind. I had to do those things at the times that I did them, and I had to rewatch them to really understand and learn who I was and what was not wrong with me, but what can be kind of tinkered and adjusted to make me a better version of myself. So I think they casted me because I wasn't really holding anything back, and I'm glad that they did, and I'm grateful that they did.
So you feel like you came out of that experience maybe, having a better understanding of yourself in a way?
Oh, for sure. Kind of the callback answer that I would give people whenever they ask, like, oh, what was it like? What was it like? I always tell people, it's like, imagine learning like 3 years of life lessons in 3 months, right? Because like sometimes you make mistakes when you go out specifically, you get a little sauced up, you don't really remember what happens. And then the next day you got to like relive those and you have to answer to those. And then imagine having to do that again, like with like a million people watching too. It's like, oh, you take your lumps in large doses when they happen. But again, like those little moments, it's like, it's a bit of an eye opener. Like my behaviors weren't great and my decisions were even worse. So, they had to happen, and I'm glad that they did, because I'm probably not in the position I am now, the life I'm living now, if those things didn't happen.
Well, there you go. There's the silver lining that we always kind of look for, right?
100%.
But I mean to ask you this, man, because I just think it's fitting that I ask you it, considering all the other roommates of yours that I've talked about this with before. It's only fair that I bring it up with you. What's with this location, man? The St. Thomas location. I've heard stories about the boats not working, you guys running out of money quick. There was a lot going on.
Wait. Who ran out of money quick? I think I was the only one that ran out of money quick. Yeah, there's a small inside joke between Trey and I, where I would call it going to the bank of Trey, because we would have X amount of dollars from like Thursday to the following Thursday, and I'd always like go to him like Tuesday or Wednesday, like, hey Trey, can I make a deposit? It was just a cycle of borrowing money, and then by the end I was like, man, like I'm gonna have to pay you back later. So me, I try to be eternally optimistic and positive. Hindsight's always going to be 2020 with our location, but I mean, realistically, St. Thomas is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been to, at least at that time. I will say I prefer St. John better now that I've gone back to both, but I was stoked when they said St. Thomas. I grew up a big Tim Duncan fan, and I know he was from the Virgin Islands, so I kind of knew a little bit about like that location and that Caribbean lifestyle, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, the boats didn't work well. They wouldn't let me drive them. Granted, I wouldn't have let me either, but like I still tried. You still think in your 21-year-old mindset, like, what the fuck, man? Like, let me drive the boat. Like, I'm good. Anyway, we couldn't go to a lot of places. I thought it was kind of interesting. This isn't to speak ill of, the majority of places in St. Thomas, but like the majority of St. Thomas, like income as an island is through tourism. And like we're trying to go and do a lot of cool things and see a lot of things and experience a lot of things. And a lot of places excuse me. Oh gosh. Wow, that was like a 3. Oh my God, so embarrassing. Edit that out. I'm just kidding. So like we had a predisposed amount of places we could go to. And then if we wanted to go somewhere that wasn't on our list, so to speak, we had to clear them with production. And we would try to go to these certain places, and like a lot of them just like didn't really want us there. And I always thought that was kind of strange. So like, with the boats not working, then you're stuck on an island. It's eternally hot. We can't even go places that we want to go to when it is working. The island that we lived on wasn't St. Thomas. We lived on Hassel Island, and that was operated on a cistern. So if you have a particularly dry season, like you don't have any water to work with. So that was kind of tough. But other than that, oh, you know what? No, there was a lot of animals that would just fuck around that house. And like some of them were welcome, like a little turtle just kind of making his way through. Like that was fun. Like a big ass iguana by the pool, But then like there were rats at one point, and I only
That's what it was. Yeah, I knew I was missing something.
I only remember this because I was in the kitchen, and I felt something like it almost felt like a cool breeze. It like went over my foot, the top of my foot, scurried over me, and I looked down in haste, and all I saw was this fucking long ass tail. And again, Philadelphia, I've been to New York before. I understand, like, the bigger the rat, the bigger the tail. And I was fucking mortified. So I spent, like, a day just sitting on the couch like a slingshot, just waiting for this motherfucker. Like, come on, man. He never came. But then I just lived in fear for the next, like I used to, like, sleep on the floor, take a little stretch. I didn't stay on the floor at all. It was almost like the floor was lava for me for the last month of our experience there. But those were probably the 3 biggest drawbacks in my mind.
It kind of just seemed like, from the perspective of filming a TV show, I mean, you guys were just kind of like, seemed like more or less in a way, just like not stranded, so to speak, but it felt like you guys were kind of limited to what you could do. So pretty much you guys were just left to almost just drink every night, I guess you could say, because you weren't going nowhere. So
I don't know if it was everybody was relegated to that fate, but I certainly was. Also, if I ever get a little too chatty Cathy, like just like hold up like a hand or something, I'll just wind it down. Sometimes I get a little long-winded. But yeah, no, that's the only thing that kind of, and I think a lot of it, there's a lot of like infighting with our cast members because, like, what do you do, right? Like, it's so hot in this place. It's just naturally hot, right? A lot of people, like, we can't like bathe routinely. We have to like regulate our water usage. We technically can't leave the island unless we paddleboard or kayak on certain occasions. Granted, the boats were working operational 80 to 85% of the time. But like sometimes you got to get away from people, right? Sometimes you want to, just disassociate for a second, take some time for yourself. And there's really no good way of doing that. And I think a lot of that, caused a lot of the drama that happened in our season where people like started like, I don't want to say hate, but like at each other's throats. And, it kind of sucked because I think, granted, while the collection of people that we had there had some really large personalities, I think that everybody would have coexisted a little bit nicer had we not been occasionally stuck on that island. But, we all get along now for the most part.
Yeah, and I think that kind of coexistence kind of tied into the reunion a little bit. I wanted to bring this up because I thought it was pretty fascinating. The whole fiasco over you wearing the shoes at the reunion that Marie had bought. Was that like, what was maybe the thought process for you with wearing those? Like, did you think going into it, like, or know rather, that like, oh, this might be a little not screwy, I guess you could say is the word I'd use.
So that's kind of the way that you kind of phrase it, that I think about it. So that's the problem with me, or the case of me back when all of that transpired, is that I didn't really think about much other than myself. Happens. I didn't see anything wrong with it in my mind. Oh, it's a gift. It's a nice gift. It's pretty slick. It matches the fit that I was going for. Hindsight, again, being 2020, probably not the best play. I can see why that would be a bit of like a jab. The larger issue was that I had been seeing somebody leading up to the show, and again, lack of foresight, lack of thinking about anybody else. I thought it'd be a good idea to bring that individual, that young lady, to New York for the reunion filming, because we're going to go party and whatnot afterwards. And she caught wind of that, and I think that's what really set it off. And then all of the other, whether it was the shoes or the bracelet, like that was a snowball effect of bullshit that I brought on myself. And then like, I will say, I am glad that we hashed that out instantly, like right at the beginning of the reunion, because then I could just like, not forget about it, but just, it's almost like public speaking in school. It's like, all right, well, I'd like to go first so I can get it out of the way. Thankfully, that got out of the way, but yeah, that wasn't a good play. I still have those shoes though.
I don't know, man. I feel like, if I had received maybe a pair of Jordans from a ex-girlfriend, and then I have somewhere I'm attending, I might feel a little inclined to wear them. I'm just saying. So, I mean, I could definitely see where you're coming from here. So,
if it's a nice gift, you should celebrate the thought, right? Like, oh, where'd you get this? Well, somebody that I know that's very thoughtful got them for me, and they clearly have great taste.
But I want to kind of wrap up with the last real world related question now, because this is more of something people want to know about, which is kind of like, do you maybe still talk to Brandon Kane, or like where has he been? Because he's someone that's pretty off the grid.
I don't. I haven't really spoken with him. He came across my Instagram at some point. I want to say like 2 years ago, maybe. And it was just that formality kind of check-in. We chatted a bit. He was good. I think he was in Nebraska at this time. And it seemed like he was doing well. He seemed like he was in a stable place. And then I don't know. I haven't, it's fun not to be a dick. Until the whole wedding question previously, and now this, I hadn't really thought of him too much. But hope he's well. Yeah, I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure what he's into anymore, or where he's at.
But yeah, you guys are going to the challenge pretty soon after just filming your real. Like, it wasn't long at all, from what Trey's told me.
About 3 weeks. Yeah.
What about kind of like your guys' appearance scene after your real world? Because Trey made it sound like it wasn't booming like other seasons, maybe like a Las Vegas, so to speak, because you guys obviously being maybe like a smaller real world. What was that appearance scene like for you guys?
You mean like the reception, or just like
they have you guys go on like those tours and such at like bars and
gotcha. Yeah, so I think, and this isn't an excuse, I honestly, after watching my season, I thought it was proper shit, like most other people did. A small glimmer of silver lining that I try to maintain is all the episodes that feature me doing something stupid. I think it's the highest rated episodes, so I try to put a little feather in my cap for that one. At least, like, I was involved in the higher rated episodes, higher viewed episodes, I should say. But no, so I've actually considered this before. The year that we didn't do any like pre-show lead up or interviews, very little, because the majority of us, or at least the ones that I think they chose us. I think they chose myself, Marie, Trey, and Laura to go to the challenge because they already knew that we were going to get the majority of the screen time, or the majority of the narrative, if you will, on the show. So we didn't really do a ton of interviews leading up to it. I remember trying to do like an interview while in Turkey filming the challenge with like a radio show from Philly. I'm like, this fucking phone calls. I'm answering things that he asked like 20 seconds ago. It was all over the place. But I think largely not the issue, but like what happened with our season is that Viacom had a falling out with MTV for a long time. Like during that, so you couldn't actually watch. Maybe it was DirecTV and Viacom. Either which way, you couldn't watch the episodes on DirecTV, which at that point was a larger, service provider. And then you got to keep in mind too, 4th of July fell on a Wednesday that year, so that's one Wednesday that the episodes aired that people just aren't watching. And then 2, the Olympics ran for, I believe, 2 weeks throughout that as well. So you have a lot of things kind of compromising just viewership. It's just not going to be popular. It is what it is. But I think it's one of the biggest things.
It seemed like you guys kind of caught the shit out of the stick, because you guys were, filming the challenge like before your real world aired, correct?
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, we got done filming May or June of 2012, and then I went and filmed the challenge for like 4 or 5 weeks or so. So yeah, it was really quick succession. I remember getting back from St. Thomas on a Friday night. I spent Saturday, Sunday, Monday hanging out. Monday afternoon, I'm at a buddy's barbecue and I get a call, be like, hey, we want you on the challenge. Marie got a very similar call at like the same exact time. She was convenient enough and thoughtful enough to call me and be like, why don't you come train with me at my aunt and uncle's house in like Upper Jersey? And I was like, fuck it, I'll see you later. And then so we trained for about 2 weeks there, and then we were just on a plane heading to Istanbul.
Did you have any aspirations of getting onto the challenge, or was that not really in your thought process?
Again, I was in such a weird and interesting part of my life where like I had left to do the real world, and the only reason I was doing the real world is because like I had no prospects, right? I was working 2 part-time jobs. I was living at home. I was just taking whatever opportunity and whatever life was affording me and just kind of running with it. It's why I did the real world. It's why I went for it. And then when they gave me the opportunity to go and do the challenge, I mean, I love competing, and to me it's also like another plane ticket, another vacation, some more fun. So it was kind of a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, no, I think your transition was really good, because the way I would describe you is like a challenge character. I feel like you always have kind of like a witty kind of joke, but you're kind of the one that just doesn't say it loud enough. So that's maybe why it doesn't get as much attention as maybe somebody who, like a Johnny per se, who will say like a cornier joke, but they'll make it seem like it's funnier.
I mean, from what I know about Johnny, he's a funny fella. But and it's like, and maybe this is why I haven't like been asked to do too many more shows. Is like I don't care to be like at the center of attention. You know, like I'm just, it's just not my personality. And what's funny is some of my like dicier and kind of shittier moments, like on the show and on the challenge, came when I thought I wanted to do that. Like, oh, let me go drum up some bullshit to like make sure that I get some screen time, right? And I realized that I wasn't really like acting like myself in those moments. I was just trying to do exactly that, is like be the center of attention. I'm like, well, one, poor effort. Two, bad look. And then three, like, that ain't me. So like, I don't think you're wrong. I think I was really comfortable fading to the back. And again, also, when I did all of my shows, I was 21 and 22 years old. Like, I was, in my mind now, still a kid. Like, I didn't really have much confidence. I was insecure about a lot of things. And that all just kind of, compiled itself into being background noise.
What about that dynamic though between the St. Thomas team? Because I've had a couple different takes on here. I know Trey kind of made it seem like there was a split right down the middle, but from speaking with Laura, she kind of made it seem like that split was a little more maybe to kind of throw off the other teams and make it seem like you weren't working together, but you guys were really on the same page, just trying to get intel from two different sides. How do you feel like that makeup of your team really was, like in terms of a dynamic? Because obviously you were with Marie, and then Trey and Laura were kind of cooped up.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I will give Marie all the credit. She was really good at doing the politicking in the house. Which is something that I just didn't want to do. Like, I just kind of wanted to show up and, compete. Our dynamic. I think we were split just naturally because we were still kind of fresh coming off of our season. And, like Trey and I weren't, like, the, best of buds leaving our season. Like, we didn't have any animosity, but, we weren't super close either. So like there was like I'm saying natural divide, but we just weren't close. But in the same breath, like I think we were collected as a team with the same vision until the episode or the challenge that sent Trey and Laura home. I think we had the same idea in the same direction up until then. And I think Marie did a really great job of navigating us through, or maybe actually navigating us out of crosshairs, because we didn't actually win any challenges that we were there, but we were also never voted in either. So
yeah, I definitely do want to stay kind of like on the topic of dynamics now a little bit. I know we're going to get into one of the more funnier notorious fights of yours on the Battle of the Seasons, but but I want to ask you now about maybe what was like your dynamic with Zach like, because I know that he got into it with Marie a little bit, and then obviously him and Trey butted heads a little bit. Did you have any particular dynamic or thoughts on Zach?
I think Zach's a fine fella. I really don't have anything bad to say about him. Like when he and I were there, we didn't really have much of a relationship either. I think I largely, up until my last like couple of nights, I think I largely got along with everybody. At least there was nobody that I just didn't, like. And then Zach and I actually probably spent even more time together, because that's when I was a bit more into working out, when we were rivals too, training. But yeah, I don't really remember Zach and Trey getting into it. I know there's a lot of squabbles with Marie towards the end. Which was the demise.
we got to talk about this bro moment though, because Do you have a thing against shirts, man? Because you're kind of a notorious moment now that you can't seem to escape within the challenge realm. Was kind of like the whole ripping of the shirt moment with Derek. I want to
see it. That's
I
really like a notorious thing. Is that what I'm known for?
I mean, I'd say it's a pretty it's a pretty talked about thing in regards to you. Do you have any? Could you maybe walk me through that kind of little moment there with that kind of maybe how the fight kind of escalated and what kind of led you to with the whole ripping of the shirt?
So first, I fucking love that shirt, and those buttons were never the same. So that shirt was gone. So instant mistake. Two, it kind of goes back to what I said earlier, where I caught myself trying to act out to get like screen time in my mind, right? I wanted to at least go out with a bang. And, again, also not the best look. So what went through my mind then, I mean, is there a cap on the amount of time that we have? Because I think we're at like 52 minutes now, and I'm, again, chatty Cathy.
My thing says 41.
Oh, because you're recording. We're good. Let's keep it going. Edit that out. So no, my with me in that time, we were kind of coasting along. Marie and I were one of the longest lasting, if not the longest lasting, 2-person teams. Like we lost Trey and Laura pretty early on. I want to say like 3 or 4 challenges in, and then her and I just stayed out of last place and stayed out of getting voted in too. And then the fight with Sam happened. Not great. And that happened after we were already in last place. So we had to go against Alton and Nani?
Nani, yeah.
Yeah. And then I forget the order of operations, but I remember somewhere along those lines that fight with Sam happened, which kind of sullied our standing with people in the house. And then there was the bumper car on the platform event, and we came in second. We thought we were good. People told us we were good. And then we weren't good because we got voted in. And then we got voted in with like the shittiest game for Marie and I. Like that was one of the, like, conceptually, that pulley system match game, so fucking hard. I mean, brilliant thinking on production. But I remember just being slighted. I felt really shitty. Like I thought we were gonna not get voted in, and then when the possibility of getting voted in happened, I thought they were gonna at least throw us a bone and give us something that we could maybe win. Keep in mind, I'm not sure how familiar you are or the people that watch us are, but like it was a pulley system, and I was hanging upside down from my ankles on one end, and I had to pull a stationary rope down into a vat of water, pulling Marie up to memorize some flipboards. And then she had to come back down and put the pieces together. But the problem is I'm so long that by the time I got to the bottom of the water, she wasn't high enough. So then I had to do an ab crunch to get her to the very top. And again, I'm not a smoker now, but I was a big smoker then. And I just didn't have the lung capacity to really do that. And I don't know, well, just on this topic of the challenge, like Dustin was a fucking dolphin, and Trishelle is a professional poker player who literally makes a habit of going like this with her cards and just knowing it. So like, it wasn't good. We weren't in a good situation, and they knew that. So I remember just being like very salty, very upset, and maybe a part of me in that time was like, fuck it, I'm gonna get my money's worth, right? I'm gonna have a moment, no matter how bad it is. Maybe it's tough to go back and think about it and like kind of put myself in their shoes again, but I think a lot of those negative emotions combined with like just trying to be like a Billy Badass when I'm fucking not. Let's be real.
And that kind of led to you and Derek then being partnered up for Rivals 2. And I know that the term rival gets thrown around a lot in terms of Rivals 2 when they're trying to dissect whether or not the rivalry is there. and I talked with Derek about this too. He felt like there wasn't much of animosity between you guys going into that. Would you say that that's pretty much what it was? Like you guys were pretty cool with each other heading into it?
Yeah, I'd even say we were kind of close at that point. Like we were buddies. Like I remember, like just kind of individual I am. Like if I'm able to recognize that I have fucked up, like I am very okay with apologizing. Like, like I'm not even going to just say like, hey, sorry about that. Like I'll be really genuine about it. And I believe I took that approach with Derek after that all happened. Just being like, I don't fucking know what got into me. That was a bad look. And I think he and I kind of squashed that almost instantly. And so when we got called for it, obviously, like we'll play it up a little bit, but I was pretty stoked to have him as a teammate. So at that point, I put on like 40 pounds of like weight, trying to get like bigger. And he was kind of like the yin to that yang, where he was like, a bit smaller, a lot of endurance. And I was pretty excited about him being my teammate going into Rivals 2, because I kind of thought we checked every box.
I was going to just ask you about the same thing about that. Well, one, that bulk up of yours, but I feel like, and I could just be saying this, but I feel like it's not too crazy to imagine a world where if maybe you guys don't go out on a blind stick fight, it may not be a crazy assumption to feel like that there potentially could have been a Robb and Derek Rivals 2 victory had you guys been in the final itself, because that required a lot of, endurance. I mean, you guys seem to be smart guys. I think Derek can swim. So I feel like with the final itself, I feel like that maybe would have catered to some of your guys' strengths.
So I remember watching some, not all, but some of the following events, and I think, like I believe, I don't think we came up on the list. Sorry, I'm like, the first one was the jumping challenge. I don't remember what the second challenge was. I remember there was like a sexually driven beach challenge.
Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
so
then
he and I didn't come in last in anything, I don't recall.
No, you guys performed pretty well. That's why people were they kind of were referring to you guys as like one of the more underrated teams.
Yeah, I don't know. I know, again, like kind of when I preface, like we did check every box. I think when I went into the Rivals 2 situation, I was really hoping and kind of looking forward to peddling off a lot of that like politicking game, because I just don't want to fucking deal with it. I want to fucking show up. I want to tie my shoes tight, and I want to just get after it. I don't want to like have to chitter chatter. I want to fucking nap half the day. And I kind of trusted Derek to kind of do the role that Marie did. Maybe foreshadow, omen, like how'd that go with Marie? Pretty good up till the end. I'll never forget, like when we got like tossed in, like I'll never forget when we were voting in the girls, that he said something along the lines of, and just so you know, we remember who voted for us and we're coming for you. And I was like, why would you say that? We're good, right? We're fine. It's tough to say like, oh yeah, we would have crushed that last event. We would have crushed every event after we got eliminated. But I do think with my combination at that time in my life of like just size and power, and he was fast, I think we would have been really, really good. I do.
Yeah, and I, we don't take shine away from anybody on my podcast, but I do have to bring these theories up to you, because there seems to be some general belief within the challenge fandom and just world that maybe your eliminations that you won by the other side were potentially thrown. Do you feel like Alton and Dunbar actually because from speaking with Tyree, he seemed to imply that Dunbar was throwing that elimination, and then Dustin kind of tried to make it sound like Alton was trying to stamp his ticket out of there. Obviously, you doing your part, you're gonna bring what you bring to the table and try to win. But do you feel like did you know anything maybe that would suggest that they would be trying to get out of there, or?
I'll be honest with you, kind of shitty to hear. I'm a bit aloof to that idea. The Alton elimination, I mean, we were separated by a wall. So it was kind of interesting. I could really only control what I could control with the, you know, it was the balls and the string, or the wires, I should say. As for Dunbar, I do know he wasn't like thrilled with being there, maybe thrilled with being Tyree's partner. I can't speak to what has he done a show since then?
No.
Oh, well, maybe that's I guess Alton hasn't either. Maybe it's indicative of both. Fuck, man, that'd be a bummer. I'll tell you what. I'm not gonna run my mouth. I was gonna say, man, that would leave a pretty shit taste in my mouth, right? Like, you go to these things, at least somebody like me, like, you just want to fucking compete. You want to do your best. You want to, like, if I'm gonna, like, I try to, like, maintain through any competition or any race or whatever I do. Like, if you want to beat the man, you got to beat the man. You got to beat the person in front of you. If somebody kind of mailed it in, fuck, man, through both of the eliminations that I was able to come out on top in, that'd be pretty shit. But, you know, I don't know definitively. I do know that Dunbar wasn't, like, stoked to be there. I'm not sure what he may or may not have done. I'm not really sure how you fucking throw something on purpose. I've never done that, so.
Yeah, no, I think it's a pretty shit thing to do, and like I said, I mean, we never want to take shine away from anybody, especially winning an elimination like that. I was just kind of throwing it your way because these are more or less kind of like conspiracy theories, I guess you could say, within the challenge realm. So I mean, I just wanted to hear maybe your perspectives on them was all.
I'll tell you what, it's a bit of a dick kick, only because that it sounds like there's a possibility that there is some truth to it, and that kind of sucks. But I don't know, like, at least put it this way, I don't know how other people acted, but I did what I could do to the best of my ability on both of them. Granted, we were separated by a wall in the first elimination that I did. So anything that I was able to control in that context, I did. And when Tyree and I were lined up in that hallway, excuse me, I know Tyree was going after it just because that guy's a motherfucker. He's fucking awesome. And he and I lined up almost for like a small bit of Oklahoma series, and that was fun, and that was kind of cool. So if any of this has some merit to it, it kind of fucking blows, but I don't know. I'll take some positive out of it. That
no, I just
right. Like, I mean, I'll take the wins. I was like,
yeah, no, I didn't want to
put this win out of my sails there, Mike. I'll get him.
No, I didn't want you to think that I didn't want you to think that I was the one kind of like deflecting that. Like, it's not like I'm just clearly asking like what conspiracy theories, like I'm not trying to be a dick or anything like that.
No. I'm totally being facetious about it's not you. I'm kidding.
Yeah. What about I gotta ask you now, because this moment was pretty funny, and it kind of gets swept under the rug, and I'm surprised they didn't try playing it up a little bit prior to your elimination with Tyree. It was kind of when he passed out on the toilet.
I don't think that was my ass. I think that was Trey.
Really? Oh my God! People seem to think that too.
That was like the first night, and I knew where you were going. That was the first night, and like we were all just happy to be there. We were just drinking the. I really don't think it was me though. And now, granted, I haven't watched this in years, so I don't know definitively. I almost want to Google myself. Like, did Robb put his ass on Tyree? I want to get like a screenshot, but yeah, no, I don't want to throw Trey under the bus.
Hey,
I just know honestly, that we were all in the same room, and I'm pretty sure it was one of us. I will say, if it was me, fuck me, man, that's a bad look too. Not cool. And apologies to Tyree, because that's not fair to him. But yeah, man, I don't remember definitively.
When we're off with this, because I do know that was episode 1. I got the DVD and everything. I think that I might go and check that and maybe I don't know, send you a screen grab or something and see.
Monitor like who's wearing what. Like, I want to really be sure that I fucked up before I text a formal apology. So.
Well, now I want to ask you though, quick, since this will be more of like a kind of rapid fire question.
Oh fuck yeah!
Before we get towards the end, what were you, maybe Team Johnny or Team Wes, if you had to choose from maybe you just Robb's point of view? Like, what would you have been, Team Johnny or Team Wes?
I'll go West, red hair.
That's what I figured. I figured the ginger link up was kind of where that thing would be going.
I have a fun story about Johnny that we can talk about after the fact. Just how good of a guy he is, and just how he has, from what I can tell, like a persona about him on TV. But he's a really really genuine fella. But
you could tell the story now.
It's a quick one. Long story short, when we were filming in Thailand, we were just yucking it up by the pool one day, and he just asked me some like familial questions, and I told him about my sister and how well she was doing in school, and he was listening to every bit of it, because the following year, I guess it would be like winter of like 2014 perhaps, I'm actually in Nebraska visiting Laura with Swift, with Trey, and we go to a club that Johnny is at doing a appearance, and we walked up, and the first thing that he asked me after he shook my hand was like, "How's your sister doing, by the way?" And I was like, "Fuck, man, like, you remember that?" Like, it just, to me, that's a sign of like just a good, genuine fella, right? So, but to answer your question, I would still probably just go with the redheads.
Wow, dude.
That's
That's incredible to hear, actually. Like, because I feel like if I was in your shoes too, and if that was the first thing someone said to me after X amount of time, like, I'd have like an extra appreciation for that person.
I was taken aback a little bit. Yeah.
But now I think the question on everybody's mind watching now is maybe why didn't we see Robb again? Maybe what shows were you called for? Because there's a belief that seems like you were called for X's 2 and then you declined. Do you know of any maybe not close calls, but any seasons that you potentially were called for that you ended up not coming for?
So I will say, after my stint on both those challenges, I was pretty salty that I didn't get really called for, or I didn't get invited, I should say, to do many more things. So I really stopped paying attention and watching anything that kind of happened, especially now, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but like, it feels like it fucking like formed and shifted into a different realm with, you have a Big Brother and whatever makes the money. I was called a couple times. You get the availability call. I was given a heads up. I was asked my interest and availability, and I always answered yes. It never came to fruition. I'd say I probably got two to three calls. It's been a while now, wow. But it's there was always the "Are you good to go?" and I was like, "Yeah, I should be," and it just never came to fruition.
So you never declined a show then, right? You were always it was always a yes.
Yeah, so I will say, should it have come from I don't know, last couple of years, I probably would have declined, just given my current status. But when I got those calls again, I never declined them or said I wasn't available now.
Yeah, because Rivals 2 was actually Trey's last appearance, and we never saw him again, and everybody was kind of like, where's Trey, where's Robb? And then Swift actually went and did one, I think, too. He did Free Agents, which was the follow. Yeah.
Yo, so I was so fucking mad when I saw him on Free Agents. I was stoked for him, but I saw they had a basketball hoop in the house. I was fucking livid. Like, it's not that the houses that we lived in weren't beautiful or really high end, but like, that just would have kept me occupied for hours. When you don't have anything else to do, I'm just gonna fucking perfect the jumper.
Yeah. Well, what about now? Say if your phone were to ring as soon as we get off this, and it's Bunim and Murray. What's the answer gonna be?
It's funny. I actually talked to my wife about this because I was like, "Yeah, babe, I think I'm gonna go talk to a little MTV shop with somebody." She's like, "All right, fucking fine." And it was kind of serendipitous because like some reposted, challenge account like took our pictures from Valentine's Day and posted them. And she thought that when I was talking to you, she was like, I was talking to MTV people. So I guess maybe she put it in her head like, oh, maybe he's coming back. Maybe he's going to do it again. But I will say, I think I did get the clear and go ahead. So if they were to call now, I mean, I have nothing else. Not nothing else. I have plenty else. But I have nothing. I have nothing to lose really to go and do it again. In fact, like, so that's kind of the one thing that's always interested me, right? It's like when I did those, I was 21 and 22. The first time I did a challenge, I was a chain smoking, just like a skinny little, I was like 180 pounds at like or at 6'6". Like it's a rough look, Bob. And then when I did the second one, I tried to flip it on its ear. So I was heavier. I was like 230. 225-ish, but like it was good weight in some context, but a lot of it was also slowing me down, and none of it was in my legs, for being honest. Don't go back and look at me in shorts. Nobody do. No. I wasn't like the I think my like current status as an athlete, even though I just turned 30, is probably the highest I've ever been, So yeah, if they called me today, I would say yes. When are we filming?
I was just about to vouch for you, man, because for those who maybe don't follow you on Instagram, I could vouch for you and say that my man Robb's been putting in work. Like, I can't really say that anybody would want to see you in a final setting. I know that if I was on the show, and I knew that most likely, because we see these finals typically, they're pretty grueling, long, enduring. I mean, the last final that they just had was in snowy mountains, and now they're in Iceland, so I assume that's going to be another one. So you're out here telling us that you're running in any snow conditions. So I think people would be in trouble having to take you on, right?
I mean, I don't want to talk shit. I just know what I'm capable of, and I know at any stage coming up, if they were to give me a call, I'd have a hard time saying no. Put it that way.
But you haven't really kept up, right? Like, you wouldn't know maybe any of...
No. I don't really have time to watch like a lot of TV, right? I work full time, and then I go train for a couple hours, and that's quality time, with the fam. So. And
you mentioned Big Brother a little bit ago. I want to, because I always seem to ask some of my guests who are a little removed from that scene what their thoughts are on them pulling from Big Brother. Well, actually, before you go, I do want to provide a little more context, because actually on this past season, they pulled an America's Got Talent singer. They pulled a WWE wrestler.
Is there that much of a dearth for fucking people? I think I know where you're going with the question. I see it from two different perspectives, right? Like, you, as a brand, you have to keep it alive, right? And the only way to keep it alive is to get viewers and viewers and viewers, and you got to reach for those things. So, I mean, in fairness to the production, like, what better way to do that than pull from other productions? Because now you have fan bases that are going to tune in, maybe because the person that you chose is like their favorite. So I totally get that. Although I think there's like an interesting like dynamic that comes from people that have maybe Big Brother's actually one of the fairly easy like transitionable things, because like they're also kind of locked in a house too. I don't know. There's just something that seems like, the challenge identity, I guess, from what I learned of it as I was doing it, was that, it's like it's real world or road rules as it started, and then it's the challenge. And like you start pulling from these other production companies, even other channels, other formats, and like I think it's very possible to see that the show may lose an identity as it starts going down this hole of pulling from a bunch of different places. I'm honestly curious, and maybe I will start tuning in, like, how do they keep that MTV crowd in there as they start pulling from other shows? But I can see from both ends of the spectrum.
It just seems a little...
Financially, I think it certainly makes sense.
Oh, yeah. From just a business standpoint, of course. But, I mean, I think I could speak for a lot of people, and that it seems a little diluted, I guess you could say. Like,
interesting.
I just feel like a lot of the luster has just fallen like off of the show a little bit because it just doesn't feel authentic anymore, at least from like a fan perspective. So like I don't know.
Let me ask you, do you still tune in every night that it's on?
I didn't last night. I actually I was sleeping like a
You're
baby.
too
I was
busy
out.
prepping for this interview. No, I get it. It's fine. I appreciate it.
But no, I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me today because I don't know, maybe it was a little fun for you to go down memory lane a little bit, reminisce on some old times. I didn't mean to take away any shine from you at all, so I apologize if
Don't even sweat
any.
it.
But thanks again, and definitely do keep touch.
Will do, brother. Thanks for having me on.
All right, thank you, man.
All right, bro.